Hi everybody, I'm Sin. Welcome to the Book Nook. Today we are going to talk about a book called The Lake of the Dead by Andre Bjerke. This book is from 1942 and was just recently translated into English. It is one of Norway's best ever written crime novels. At that time, they considered it a crime novel, but it also has elements of horror and paranormal and the occult, and it was quite a fantastic read. I guess you would even maybe consider this to be a classic since it was written that long ago, and it keeps beating out books that are newer than it most years. So, The Lake of the Dead, I'm going to put this up on the screen up here so I don't have to hold it. As you can see, it's not super long. I think it was 180 pages. It was 187 pages. And I heard about this book over on Typical Books channel, and it sounded fascinating. I thought the cover art was beautiful. I mean, look at it. It's freaking beautiful. I love the colors, the blues and the purple and the darkness and the creepy hands that are reaching out to the person sinking and being pulled down into the Lake of the Dead. So the whole story behind Lake of the Dead is it centers around a cabin in the woods and a century-old curse. There's a story that there's this guy, Tor Gruvik, and he had a sister, and he was in love with his sister, and obviously that was a thing that just couldn't happen. And at some point in time, she met a man who they were going to run away and elope. He found out those two didn't make it. He chopped off their heads and threw their bodies in the lake. And then after that, he killed himself. And that is the story of the cabin that is in the woods, that everybody in the area says that whoever goes there goes crazy and then kills themselves, and you get possessed by the spirit of Tor Gruvik and all of that. So there's a lot of like myth and legend around it. And there's this group of friends, and one's an author, one's a lawyer, one's a psychoanalyst, and then the women in this seem to be housewives. There's a note in it. In the beginning, there's a whole introduction that kind of goes through a little bit of like the symbolism of some of the people's names, and then it also talks about like the use of, there is some misogyny and some misogynistic things that are said in the book, but it's not super overt, and some of it's almost funny, and I didn't find it too offensive. The only things that were really maybe people could find offensive, which, you know, it was written 150 years ago, is they refer to women as the weaker sex. But they also talk about how brave they are in this book and some of the strong things they're doing. So, I don't know. It's not an excuse for the idiocy of the past, but hey. But they make a note about that. I don't really think it affected the story at all. I really enjoyed it. So there's a group of friends, and at some point, one of the friends in the group purchases that cabin. And they've all been told the story of what happened and what happens when you go up there. So the guy goes up there. So one of the women is the sister of the guy who ends up buying the cabin. He goes up there, and 3 weeks later, the friends and the sister, they get a message that he has disappeared, and all signs point to it looks like that he committed suicide. So here you have this legend of what actually happened. And so it's kind of torn between, okay, is it maybe there's a murder on the loose, or is it really the paranormal or something, you know, not not of the normal nature, but maybe a spirit possession for why this has happened. And so the group of friends, after they find this out, they all drop everything and they decide within the hour that they're going to go up there and they're going to stay there and they're going to try to figure out what happened. And it's a creepy story, and it was highly entertaining. And the way it was written, I thought was really fantastic. There's a passage in here that I wanted to read to you, just to give you like a little bit of like how the author's description was, because I thought it was really, really fantastic. And I'm going to read that. It doesn't give away anything of the story. It just kind of like feeds into a little bit of like the the paranormal and the spirituality and how people kind of view things as differently from different cultures and whatnot. So I thought it was kind of neat. So in here it says, in a country like India, people interact with the dead every single day, see ghosts every day in the most literal sense, without feeling the slightest hint of horror. And why? Because Eastern people have a very different spiritual culture from us, and they say Europeans because they're in Norway. We think we've found the ultimate truths, the immortal wisdom, and in reality, we're totally ignorant. We're children, no wiser spiritually than primitive forest dwellers. The only things that we've managed to produce are some technological toys whose proper place is in the nursery. You can see our impotence most clearly in our fear of the spirit world, our terror of ghosts. We're so frightened out of our wits that we deny their existence. It says, but an Indian doesn't feel any such fear. Through mental practice and meditation, he has made himself comfortable with the unseen world. He is initiated. It is as natural for him to talk to spirits as it is for us to brush our teeth, slander our neighbors, and write bad literature. And I thought it is kind of true about how people view stuff like ghosts and paranormal, and they kind of brush it off and they don't believe in it. Just kind of like Eastern thought is way more open to that. And also too with Native American culture, there's a lot of that in there as well, like the spirit world. So I thought that was kind of just a nice like thought of how things are viewed by different groups of people with different beliefs. And so I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, it's a wonderfully written book. It was creepy. And I see why they could say it's a crime novel, because it's like elements of horror, but also crime. And it's just, I don't know. It was really great. I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4.5 stars. Yeah, I don't know why it took so long for them to translate it into English, but I'm glad they did. It was wonderful. Thank you everyone for joining me today in the Book Nook. If you had fun hanging out, don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on those notifications, and come back and see me again. And we'll talk about more books and stuff. Until next time, we'll see you later. Have a good day. Dater, have a good day. We'll see you later. Have a good day. I don't know what I'm doing.